Welcome back to this episode of the Builders Coach Show. I'm Jess, I'm your host. I'm here with Kurt today. Kurt, how are you?
Very good, thanks, Jess. Yourself?
Yes, I'm awesome. Let's get straight into it, right? I want to talk about time management today, but specifically leadership in time management.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of time management, maybe we can make it a bit of a speedy one.
Yeah, let's go.
Perfect, great. Okay, so what we want to talk about is basically strategies for company owners around time management and really how to lead better, basically.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more prevalent these days, right? Like it's just, There seems to be more and more to do, less and less time.
Yeah.
And I think it's more a reflection of the attention economy. Our attention is getting pulled in there's apps and platforms and everyone's vying for our attention. So being able to direct it and focus on the things that matter most is crucial.
Yeah. But I think we do much more these days than we probably did 50 years
Absolutely.
ago.
Well, we have access to great systems, technology. There's never been a better time to be in business because of that, right? Mm-hmm. And it's more of a global economy as well. You can access people overseas at a tenth of the cost, and things are happening a lot quicker.
Yeah. Quicker, and as you say, and that's what everyone says, right? It's like when you ask someone how they are, they'll be like, "I'm busy."
It's a bit cliche these days.
It is cliche.
Everyone's busy, but you need to manage it, right? Find that balance. So no, it comes down to understanding critical path for your business in the business and on the business.
So, what would you say is the biggest leadership mistake builders make when it comes to managing their time?
Okay, well, they don't plan and prepare enough. They don't make a decision to, this is going to sound absurd. This is time management 101, but plan their weeks and days in advance. Yeah. So important. And then when it comes to, beyond that, it's the 80-20 rule at play. So looking at what are those 20% of activities, those high dollar productive tasks, what we call them, and then block out time to perform those. It's like putting those rocks in the calendar first, doing the same for your day. And then, if you write a to-do list for tomorrow, there's 27 things, easy, right? Then you've got to, you don't stop there. It's about, narrowing down the top $6 productive activities. Like what are they? What are the things that if you do them or don't do them, will either make you money or lose you money? And then highlight the most difficult thing, eat that frog. Yeah. And one of my guys, as he signed off on his call the other day, was like, I've just got to eat that frog every single day. And we've spoken about it before. Like we know these things, we apply them as best we can, but no one's perfect. Like there's days when, you get pulled out. Like we had recently, man, you had a brutal last couple of weeks, right?
Yeah.
Just to give everyone an idea, puppies, right?
Oh, yeah.
French bulldog puppies that are like
puppies.
A manufactured breed that require a 3-hour turnaround on feeding.
Yeah, 2 hours at the beginning,
two
right?
to 3 hours
The first 10 days
turnaround.
was every 2 hours feeding time.
And then while that was happening, so sleep deprived, eyes hanging out your head, you ended up spending 10 days in hospital, 10 nights in hospital.
With my son.
When, Coop's got his appendix taken out after it burst, and then a secondary sort of procedure that had to happen. And then all the pressure that comes with that. Yeah, and the stress, I suppose.
Yeah, and we were talking about it, and I wrote an article about it also, but when that happened, I just had to drop everying. I mean, you're not even thinking about it, right?
You've got no choice.
I've got no choice.
Off you go.
Dropped absolutely everything, and as you know, I was in hospital.
Well, it was a Wednesday afternoon, and you were like, "Hey, I'm just going down to the GP.
I'm going to go to the
doctor's. Coops has got a bit of a, his stomach's not great, probably a stomach bug." And then next thing you call me, hey, they've told me we've got to go to emergency now. It's his appendix. Yeah. Then you rush off there to a hospital, and then it's hurry up and wait. They keep you waiting for hours. Wait. And then they're like, no, you got to go to another hospital across, the other side of the city.
Yeah, we were transferred.
Fortunately, they had an ambulance available that made it easier, but it was just...
And
like that for 10 days, right? Because things didn't go according to plan.
Yeah. We got transferred at 11 o'clock at night from the hospital in the Northern Beaches to the Sydney Children's Hospital. Transferred at 11 o'clock at night, and then got there at the emergency department and just sat there for such a long time, like basically the whole, and they knew we were here, like we were there. And then only I think at 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning, they told us, yeah, we know you're there, but the surgeons are only coming in at like 7. So voilà. So it's just, this thing of like, it's urgent, but you have to wait. And then it's urgent, you have to wait. And and then eventually the surgeons were not available because another emergency had come in, and they decided that, Cooper's emergency was not as urgent as the other one. Anyway, it's just urgent, and then you wait. And it took such a horrible time, to be honest.
And then the surgery didn't go according to plan. But then the following week, we had a live podcast recording at the Sydney
Build Expo. Yeah.
And I was like, hey, we can pull out anytime, showing like empathy and compassion, right? and you were like, no, let's do it. And so you were able to still prepare for that, stay on top of it, even though you were like sleeping on the floor in a hospital.
Yeah. Well, so going back to that, so dropped absolutely everything. So that Wednesday went to the hospital. That's it. Didn't do anything. But then as I was, and then I don't remember if I told you this. Every day, obviously, in between doctors and in between waiting and in between like being with Cooper and helping him out, I kind of thought, you have this stress in your head of like, oh my God, I've just dropped my whole to-do list. What should I be supposed to do? And then it's kind of like, I had this thing of like, well, if there's one thing I need to do, it's probably this. And I did it. And so I think on the Friday, in between waiting, I picked up the phone and I had to call the ATO about, the super stuff. And so I picked up the phone and I called them and said, hey, where was that? So I did one thing. But that was probably like, I managed, when you have to drop everything, all of a sudden, there was this one thing that came up, and I was like, actually, if there's one thing that I could do, it's probably this thing. And it just became my most critical thing to do, right? Yeah. And so I did that. I did that one phone call. And then
that's what I mean by the critical path thing. Yeah. And then it's good that you had the awareness, like what it was, and then you were able to follow through on that and other things where from the outside people wouldn't have known other than family and close friends.
And I think that's what, and even through the weekend I was like, if I've got time to do one thing, this is probably the one thing that I need to do. And it was respond to an email to our marketing team or something, and
urgent and important, right?
Yeah, it was urgent. And so it kind of every day I was like, oh wow, there's this other thing that's really important that I completely dropped the ball on, and now we're 5 days into a hospital stay, and I was like, oh, if there's one thing, if I've got time to do one thing, it's probably this thing. And so every day I managed to just tick off one small thing that as such sometimes was not complicated, was not a big thing, and sometimes there were some other things that were a bit bigger to do, like preparing for this podcast we did live at the Sydney Build Expo. But it's funny how when you do drop everything, you've got this awareness of like all of a sudden there's like, oh, well actually if this thing I really need to do. And that's as you say, it's your critical path, right? And so I managed to probably do one thing every day and just kind of stay. I mean, obviously it was not perfect, but kind of stay on top of most of our things.
Yeah, and look, I suppose the thing to highlight here is that it's inevitable, right? That something is going to happen. So anyone listening, that they've had something happen, right? People get sick. Situations occur, it's your kids, it's someone else in the family, and then you get pulled out of your day-to-day, like in a high-speed wind tunnel, you know what I mean? And this is when your systems and your people save you. So having a system for identifying what's urgent and important, what are the critical path activities. But, for me, making a decision to work on your business, when you've got a normal routine, like how much do we just appreciate just normal life again? After you come out of a situation, out of a crisis, you just appreciate the little things like walking down to our favorite coffee shop just to grab a coffee in the morning and, take the dog for a walk or whatever it is. So when things are normal and you've got space and time to work on your business, you want to do as much as you can because it's not a matter of if, it's when. Something's going to hit you. Like life's going to punch you in the face. And, people saved us as well, right? Like our team. Were like while you were focusing on Cooper, there were people doing things in the background. And the next day you could check in, okay, great, we've got that documentation. That's been sorted.
And I think some of these things that I did was, respond to an email so that someone else could go and do what they needed to do.
Take the reins and run. Yeah.
Or, respond to the guy on AppWorks so that he could go and do what he needed to do. Or just delegate it to some other guy for something else. So, yes, sometimes it's just making sure you just delegate or give instruction to someone else so that they can go and
even
run with
just,
it.
like appointments being like, and having something like Calendly where appointments are automated and then people can change appointments. All that's happening in the background. We've got people on our team that are scheduling other calls and things are getting populated in the calendar while we're away, which is, it's great having those processes and people to help.
Processes, people, and the third thing also is the amount of work that I had done previously. And I think it comes down to preparation, but also automation. Like, when we talk about our marketing stuff, for example, social media, like I do a lot of bulk of the work like in advance for the whole month or 6 weeks coming ahead. And I think that also saved me, right? Because it's kind of like it's done and it's getting automated.
Yeah.
And it's like it's set and forget nearly.
Yeah.
So I was lucky that was also going on. So yeah.
So it was brutal. So congratulations on staying on top and also like, obviously out of your comfort zone. It's horrible when you see your kid in pain. Yeah. But you stayed on top of it. And the other bit of good news was I kept those puppies alive.
Yeah.
That was
oh my gosh.
That took me out of my normal routine as well. Yeah. But it's interesting how when you're in a situation like that and you're forced to, the sleep debt, right? You're forced to still perform even though maybe feeling a bit sleep deprived, how your body's a lot stronger than you think. And you can cope with a lot more than you think, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, like when we had the puppies and obviously we were feeding every 2 hours, that was hard on both of us, although I did do more nights than you.
Yes, you did.
But moving on. But yeah, and we thought that we were getting stretched then, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, another thing happens, like me going to the hospital with Cooper. And then all of a sudden, so you think you're already stretched to like, 100%. And then something happens and you're like, wow, I know actually I can even stretch more.
No matter how bad things get, they can always get worse.
Yes, but also it shows that, and we managed it, right? So it's as if like you thought you were at your end of your bandwidth, but actually you still had a bit of.
And then
reserve.
you think, wow, that was tough. But then you think, look around the world, there's people in far more difficult situations, right, than that. So really, it's it's almost like first world problems.
If anything, it just shows that like when we are like under stress or whatever, it's like, well, we probably can take more. It's just
it's great to get tested like that. And as it was out of the comfort zone. We were talking about that meme that I saw off air before. Well, I saw a guy, I can't remember who it was, but he said, if you're living in your comfort zone, you will lose. Success is not a comfortable procedure. Right? And you've got to look to get out of your comfort zone. And I think in life, if you don't get out of your comfort zone and then try and live on the edge of your ability from time to time, life will do that for you. Yeah. You'll get a kick in the arse and life goes, hey, let's show you what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't need this right now, but now that it's over, thank you.
It's tests.
Yeah, everything seems easy now, right? Like a normal routine. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, you appreciate going back to normal and just relaxing. And now nearly feel like, oh, wow, we're not that stressed out. Or
you got
like we pulled off the Sydney Build Expo and for those of you who've seen it, you wouldn't know, but I literally that day came straight from the hospital, changing the car before we got to the thing because you had to bring me some clothes. And then, did the show and then went back to the hospital
Straight
afterwards.
to the hospital and I went straight back to the puppies, raced back to make sure they got another feed.
Yeah. So it's fun, but we pulled it off. So no, it's nice that we did that. And then also, I think I realized that sometimes, because for that podcast, for example, if I wasn't in hospital with Cooper, I would have prepared so much more and I would have done so much more work on it, etc. But sometimes just critical path, not say minimal, but like. Sometimes you don't, it's okay to just do enough.
Good is good enough.
Yeah, but good is good enough, yeah.
Because you do we're talking about psychometric profiling on our previous pod, and there are people who are guilty of, trying to do too much on the detail front. So they've got 80 or 90% done. Like writing a book's a good example, and they're trying to get it perfect, and then nothing gets published. It doesn't get out there. No, it's like you may as well have nothing versus getting something out that is good or very good that'll help a lot of people versus agonizing over trying to get this, the final details in place.
You already know I'm guilty of that because I am a detail person. So yes there we go. So maybe it was probably a good thing for me that instead of like overdoing the detail and preparing to the nth degree, I was forced to let
comes
it
back
go.
to time management. So it's recognizing, what are the critical path activities? What are the higher dollar productive tasks? And for a business owner, any business owner listening, that is, you being the strategic leader of the business, the person that makes the decisions that optimize the profitability, the team performance, operational excellence. That is what your job is, and that's what you should essentially have in your job description. We've got a job description that we share with our builders that we get them to work towards and aspire to, which is them not leading the team on site, but leading the business instead.
Yeah. I'm looking at my notes. Time blocking. Tell me, what do you think about it? How do you implement time blocking in a way that actually works?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, there's certain tasks that require deep thinking and quiet time, right? Like, there's research that shows that if you get interrupted, and I think it happened yesterday, I could see you were deep in thought. You can actually sense when someone's in a bubble. And then I was like, hey, Jess, do you want a coffee? It was something like that. And the way you looked at me was like, I was like, shit, she just lost 19 minutes. I think I said it to you. You just lost 19 minutes.
I lost 90 minutes.
To get into deep thought, and for builders listening, if they're checking a quote, going through some detailed, analysis of the numbers, it takes a fair bit of time, about 20 minutes to get into a state where you fully focused. And if someone breaks your concentration, that's how long it takes to get back. So it comes back to attention management over time management, and then recognize, so what are the tasks that require deep work? And then how do you set up your environment to eliminate distractions? So put your phone off. Don't let your emails ping on your computer. Let people know. I mean, I know guys that go to a different environment. They literally go to a room where there's nothing but a desk and a pad and a pen if they're going to be thinking strategically or doing some work. And there's nothing that can happen, during a 2-hour period of 90 minutes that won't get dealt with if your phone's off.
That's what I want. I want an office with peace and quiet. For the record, yesterday you did interrupt me a couple of times. And it's funny because, in this world, and often we say women can multitask. Yeah, sure, we can multitask.
Can't
it's
you?
not. Yeah, we can.
Is that not a true story? I thought it was a real thing.
I think women can multitask better than men, but it does not mean that it's productive. And I don't think it's productive.
Yes,
and
I'd agree.
Like,
single handling matters.
Yeah.
Which is why, hence the time blocking. You want to focus on one task.
Because yesterday you asked me like at least 3 different times, and I was busy doing something, and every time you asked me a question about something else, and then I multitask because I switch over and I respond to you, and then I have to come back to what I was doing, and then I switch over again because you asked me something else.
Yeah, it is counterproductive.
It is. It is. So multitasking, no, it's not.
So that's
not
what time blocking is. So it's blocking out the time proactively. So doing like a weekly calendar where on the weekend or the end of the week before, you're looking at what are the time slots when I can find that deep, I can do that deep work, and then set up the environment accordingly so that you're less likely to be interrupted. Let people know this is really important, and this is the kicker, I suppose. The most important thing is know what it is that you're going to work on during that time. Don't have time blocked out and then you're like, okay, so I'm going to work on marketing, like just marketing. It's too vague. And then, so what am I going to do? I don't know. And you spend the first 20 minutes just thinking about it. Know that you're working on your new capability statement, or you're going to put together a marketing plan, or you've got a meeting with a marketing strategist or something where you can execute. So executing on the use of that time well. That matters as well.
Yeah.
So it comes back to, and then single handle, like get that one thing done and do it well, quickly and well, and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah. And I think it's really important what you said about making sure you know what you're going to work on. And the second thing, the environment. Make sure you protect your environment so you're not going to get distracted.
I'll give just a quick example like of that as well, just besides the marketing thing. Well, within marketing, it's networking, right? So we have guys calling architects and designers. So they may decide, okay, I'm going to call, 10 architects during that time. Have a list of the architects ready. Know where it is. Have the phone numbers there. Know where you're going to capture the notes. Have the email template ready for that you're going to send out if you can't get through to someone. Plus, if you are going to get through, that's all ready to go. And then it's boom. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're ready to go when
you're ready to go. Yeah. Make best use of the time.
Yeah. So how should leaders behave differently during busy periods? Do you have any advice?
I mean, it comes back to like having your team there to support you, and like what you said, but like what you did during your stay in hospital. Like you've got to recognise, what is urgent and important, and then be able to prepare and plan. So just time block it. And I think one of the mistakes guys make when they go into a bit of a crisis or it's busy is they forget to delegate.
Yeah.
Like you've got to delegate out to ideally competent people, right, who can cover off on those KPIs. Like your key performance indicators, those dollar productive tasks that are essential, those are the tasks that people fall back onto when someone's not there. So whether it's yourself as a business owner or someone else that's not there, it's straight away, what are their KPI tasks? Let's make sure they get done. Let's make sure that invoice gets out. Let's make sure that quote gets completed and sent. Because if it doesn't, it's going to impact cash flow and profitability. So I think
some people struggle with that, right? In terms of like identifying what is important. People think, oh, this is urgent, or I need to respond to this email or whatever. But really, you need it takes skill to understand exactly what is really important and important for my bottom line or for my progress, etc. And really understand those priorities. And I mean, imagine you couldn't do anything today because you're going to go and check into hospital or something. Like what would be the one thing or the couple of things that you really, really need to do to make sure, the important stuff gets done?
It gets highlighted. Like a common example is when people go on holiday, right? The day before you go on holiday, things get done.
Yeah.
But it's recognizing what those things are. Taking the time to the way to identify the KPIs is look at the tasks that each person in the business performs. So ideally you have roles and tasks assigned to people. And it's not like the corporate world where it's siloed. Like most people have hybrid position where the office admin person could do a bit of marketing, a bit of contracts admin, a bit of invoicing or whatever, but know what those roles and tasks are. And then ask yourself, when you go through those roles and tasks, if this task is not done, okay, will it impact our profit, our cash flow, our workflow?
Yeah.
And the ones that you go, shit, yes. Like if we don't get this quote in, we promise it'll be in 2:00 tomorrow. If we don't, we could potentially lose it. What's it worth? What's the gross margin on that job? $100,000. Wow, it's a lot of money to lose out on just by being late. Maybe that should get, given priority. So it's invoices out, sending an invoice for money in. That's an often a reason why cash flow gets delayed. So highlight those tasks. They should be glaringly obvious. Some are not as obvious, but because some of them are like planning and preparing, like scheduling or programming a job beforehand. Hiring slow, firing fast could be a thing. Making sure that you're doing your due diligence in following those processes. Yeah, because decisions made now can have impact down the track. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you don't want to just do everything that's urgent. You need to make sure you're setting yourself up properly for the future. Like
urgent, there's urgent and important, getting the invoice out, and then there's not urgent but important, working on the business. So farming over hunting, right?
Yeah. Tell me, systems, and we spoke about it. My opinions. Systems and automation. Like, how important is it when it comes to time management, and how can it help the leaders?
Hugely important. Yeah, I mean. I could joke about it. Yeah, there's a percentage of builders we come across that are still running their business like it's the 1990s, like it's paper-based. And I saw something the other day, right, like where I think the finance sector is one of it's the last area of business or industry that is coming on to the digital space. And there was a release about Citibank in Switzerland, how they were finally looking at moving away from a paper-based system for how they process information. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Yeah. Like it's 2025 and these guys are celebrating, in a country like Switzerland to start moving away from it. So
it's funny. So it's funny you say that, because the moment you said that, you were like, oh, finance is one of the areas moving away.
Yeah.
But HR, like everything related
human resources.
Oh yeah, human resource. I just had a flash because my sister works in HR, and I think they use paper a lot when it comes to contracts, when it comes to like printing out all the still pay slips and things like this. Like I remember my sister like having like, she's like, oh, I need my office, and then she prints out all her things in her like
It's
folders
ridiculous.
and stuff.
So you see that thing in the US
So I think
where all
HR is also one of
the
those.
documents for employees get filed in Oman. Like I thought it was a joke, but it's a real thing. That could only
because paper. I read that too, because the paper lasts longer in conditions where it's fresh and cold and stuff.
Yeah, but the fact that it's still on paper, right, in 2025, where they don't, it's called dematerialization. Like they could photograph it and save it on Dropbox or something. You know what I mean? You'd think that the most powerful nation on the planet would have a process like that, but as a result, they could only get, I think 10,000 people a month could be redundant, right? Because they're trying to reduce, send people on early retirement, but they can only process so many because all paper-based.
But can you imagine the change to the processes? That would be like a massive change.
Huge, man, huge. So to answer your question, yeah. So what impact does systems and technology have in terms of time management? Well, incredible. I mean, look at AI as well now, like in terms of marketing and creating content. Like it's sped up like exponentially, right? So there's that, but also just planning your weeks, having calendars linked, using job scheduling tools, client communication portals, using platforms to communicate through video and that sort of thing as well, and smart contracts. It just goes on and on.
So if I'm going to put you on the spot,
even
here.
Zoom instead of a face-to-face meeting,
If you had if you could like narrow it down to 3 essential systems every builder should be implementing or should have in order to save time, what would they be?
Okay, in order to save time.
Yeah.
So job scheduling tool, 100%. Then within a job scheduling tool, there'll be purchase orders, there'll be there should be client portal, and a subcontractor communication portal as well. That's really important. A lot of people would think estimating and pricing, but I would more who, not how that, instead of how do I get the numbers right. Who already knows how to get them right. Align yourself with the right estimator that uses the tool and then charge for quotes or a cost analysis or value management solution and then outsource that. But that's an important part of the process. Beyond that,
third one,
without a doubt, would be a CRM system that is able to track all of your online and offline marketing and sales activity and keep it all in one place.
Your sales process in there. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be massive. And then what else? I mean, just having a place to house all your documentation, right? Like you need to have, systems and processes from first inquiry all the way through. So somewhere to house your operations manual. Yeah. It's like your job descriptions, your KPIs, and there's good tools and apps for that as well. Like for your occupational health and safety, like here in Australia, the SWMS, there's apps that ensure everyone is compliant, but then they can also, within that, house their trade agreements, subcontractor agreements that stipulate, certain performance criteria and that sort of thing. I mean, that is, again, it's putting it in the cloud and not using the paper-based system. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so that's all about systems. Let's talk about also leadership when it comes to planning. And I know you mentioned it just before, but so how do you protect leadership time, and avoid being dragged into some low-value tasks?
Yeah, so you touched on it there. It's planning. And what is planning, right? Like it's being proactive, not reactive. So it's taking the time out to look ahead. And there's a difference between planning and preparing, right? Preparing is really looking at, what could potentially go wrong? What are some inefficiencies that could, creep in? Or what issues could come up? And then offsetting those before they even arise. So that's going to help, free up time and prevent wasted time as well. So we have our 12-week planning process that we look at with a reflection and review. So you're looking back, nothing happens in a straight line, on site, but also from a business development perspective. So you've got to look at, where can you improve? What changes need to be made from a systems and, people perspective, and then make the decision to make those changes, even though it's going to be uncomfortable, right? Yeah. It comes back to that meme that I saw. Like if you're in your comfort zone, you will lose, right? You got to get out of your comfort zone to make those changes. Yeah. So being proactive, planning ahead. And the more you do that, the better you get at it. The better you can, you can obviously see certain things. If you're looking ahead, you can go, okay, so like here's a client that maybe is a little bit demanding, they shouldn't have come through. We're going to be mindful of that. But you can also intuit certain things. Some of the best business owners on the planet, they're very intuitive. Richard Branson's a good example of that. Like he would have people saying to him, are you out of your mind? Like, why are you going to buy an airline? Are you nuts? Like everyone, family, his accountant. Imagine everyone telling you you're out of your mind. And then you do it anyway because you get your gut feeling is like, hey, I think I should do this. Yeah. It takes a special type of crazy, I reckon, to do that. Or just like intuition. Or just like self-awareness, like knowing yourself, having backed yourself. Had a feeling that green lights, right? Matthew McConaughey's got a good book on that. Like if it's all looking like it's green lights, it feels good, it looks good, then have a crack,
what are some of the most common traps or pitfalls of that builders fall into when it comes to time management?
It's just assigning, so the top one would be assigning the same importance to everything. So it comes back to guys like the hunter versus farmer analogy. Guys like to get things done. A lot of guys, we're not all the same, but we like to just like hunt, seek and destroy, get it done. And there's dopamine associated with that. So just plowing through the to-do list as opposed to stopping. Hold on a sec. Let's look at the to-do list. Let's highlight the top 6. Eat that frog. Develop that habit, right? So not doing that consistently and developing the right habits and routines to make sure that they focus in their attention and energy on the things that truly matter, right? As opposed to just getting things done. And then also not, once you've identified, what are the critical path activities or the higher dollar productive tasks is then not blocking out time blocking to build the systems and processes associated with those tasks. So your KPI tasks, once identified, should be reviewed for systems and training development. If you're going to build systems, that's where you do it first. And if you have systems but they're not being used, which is common as well, a lot of guys have process but they're not using it to its full potential, then you should have training for yourself and your team. And that should all go into a 12-week plan because once you do that, you realize, we've got a lot to do here. Yeah. You can't do it all at once and you can't do it all in 12 weeks. So you've got to decide, what are we going to do in 12 weeks? Then do it, then reflect and review, lay the track again for the next 12 weeks and rinse and repeat. So it all starts with a decision though, right? It's deciding, okay, this is the journey that we're going to embark on and begin with the end in mind. Look at the end game, which is having a fully functioning operations manual that runs like a well-oiled machine,
I was going to say, and there is, you said it does get easier with time. So it's really about routines. And once you start planning and reviewing and then, setting your goals, etc., your mind is kind of like your mind is getting trained to see things like that, and prioritizing tasks properly and eating that frog, etc. I think at the beginning, it might be a little bit hard. You really have to think about it. But I think the more you do it, the easier it becomes and it nearly becomes like instinctive, like, hey, I need to do this first, or hey, this is my most important task, etc. Would you say that's right?
You're spot on. You're training your reticular activating system. Yeah. Like when you see a car, you buy a car and you see more of them out there. So you're training your brain to look for the opportunities, to look for the critical path activities, to recognize them, and then 30 days to form a habit or 30 days to break a habit. Ray Dalio is saying it's more like 18 months to really get something ingrained in your DNA. But at some point, like you do something for 12 months and it really benefits you, or beyond, 2 or 3 years, it becomes lifestyle. So diet and exercise is like that, right? In the beginning, it's hard and tough, but once you're fit and lean and strong and healthy, you're sleeping better, you're alert, your mind is sharp and focused, then it becomes a lifestyle. It's not a difficult thing. And then you can overlay other habits on top of that. And that's how you just keep on that upward spiral.
Yeah. And I think maybe the last thing, it's really about self-discipline, I'm not sure but self-awareness, and self-leadership.
Yeah, above all, know yourself. We're all different, right? Like everyone's different. That's why I love coaching our clients. Like every business is different. Every business owner is different.
Yeah.
70% of success is mindset. We have different, we spoke about psychometric profiling. If you haven't seen it, check the podcast, the previous podcast.
The previous one.
Yeah, know yourself and then employ your weaknesses. Like know your strengths, accentuate your strengths. Know the things that you enjoy that get you into the zone, into that flow state, and then do more of those and have fun, following a process and follow process over outcome. And if you can just have fun every day and be buzzing and vibing while you delivering value, making money, interacting with people, then life's a beautiful thing, right?
One last thing for you before we head off.
Yes.
If there was one thing you would recommend builders to do like right now for their time management, what would be that one thing?
Block out time to work on your business. If you're not already doing it, make a decision to work on your business, all right? You are the strategic leader of the business. No one else is going to, no one's going to knock on your door and go, hey, let me work on your business for you. Working on your systems and your people and putting some structure in place, ideally best practice process, is going to free up time and money. And so but it starts with making a decision to do it and then blocking out time, which is easier said than done. A lot of the guys that we work with, they have all the best intentions in the world. When they start out, it's hard to get into that, like any new routine or habit. But once they get traction, there's no stopping them. It's like a freight train. It's up and away.
And how would you rate your time management skills?
About 8 or 9 out of 10, I'd say, over the years.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's how would you rate my time management skills? What's my I'm forced to I've got ADHD tendencies, right? So I thrive on structure. Anyone that's got a lot going on in their head, structure and routine and being organized is a really, really good thing, and it actually comes easier to us because we need it, right? So I'd say it's pretty good, in terms of I know what I need to focus on.
Yeah.
And right now we need to grab a coffee.
Okay, cool. Well, that said, no, I think your time management skills are pretty good. I was just teasing you.
And it's the execution. You can block out time, but can you follow through? Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for that, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Cheers. Take care.